What's down, people, and welcome back to another episode of Ghetto Gospel. So where we left off at. Last week, we talked about the Abraham, Sarah, and King Bema love triangle that almost happened until God stepped in and had something to say about it. We also talked about how when God come through for us in a jam, it's a good idea to at least give him some credit for it and not just act like it's a given or he ain't have nothing to do with it. The last thing we talked about was how even though Abraham wasn't no punk, it's some battles that's just too big to fight on your own. And now we caught up. So this the chapter we've been waiting on. Well, this the part Abraham been waiting on. He finally getting that son that God promised him. Ain't no way this could possibly go wrong. So the first thing it say is that the Lord came to Sarah just like he said he would and kept his promise to her. Then it say that Sarah got pregnant and gave Abraham a son at his big old age and at the exact time that God said he would. And they named him Isaac. And obviously, they circumcised him at 8 days old, just like God told him to back in chapter 17. So Abraham finally got a son with Sarah at 100 years old. And Sarah was like, God, you funny, and anybody who hear about this gonna laugh about it. Who would have thought that she'd give Abraham a son at their big old age? But here he is. And everybody lived happily ever after, right? You see all of this here between these fingers? This the stuff that ain't happened yet. So after Isaac got off that breast milk and was old enough to eat real food, Abraham threw a big old party. And I don't know what Isaac was doing at the party, but Ishmael, his older brother, stepbrother, but still brother, was making fun of him, or laughing at him, or joking with him, or playing with him. I ain't super clear on what interpretation of the word they meant right there, because they could all fit the context. Remember that episode? Regardless, whatever he was doing, Sarah felt some kind of way about it. So obviously, she approached the whole situation real calm and rational like. Nah, that ain't what happened. Homegirl went off telling Abraham to get rid of that slave and her son because he ain't gonna inherit none of our stuff. It's all going to Isaac. And the next verse say that Abraham was distressed about it. But the way that word was getting used in this part of the Bible almost make it sound like Abraham felt like Sarah was asking him to do something that was evil. And I bet Abraham was figuring that God was gonna tell him not to kick that boy and his mama out. And God didn't. God told him not to stress about Hagar and Ishmael and to do whatever Sarah say because Abraham's bloodline was going to be traced through Isaac. And I guess to make Abraham feel better about the whole thing, God told him he was going to make a nation out of Ishmael too because he was also Abraham's son. So the next morning, Abraham got up, made him some bread and some water for the trip, and sent him packing. And so they wandered in the wilderness until they ran out of water. And then it say that Hagar put Ishmael up under one of the bushes because she ain't want to have to watch him die. And then she sat down a little ways away from her son and bust out crying. Not no cute Hollywood save the makeup crying. I'm talking about,
how come you don't want me, man?
What? I ain't crying. You crying. And I bet Ishmael was probably thinking the same thing Will was in that episode. So then they say that God heard Ishmael crying and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven. Like, what's wrong with mama? Don't trip. God didn't heard your boy crying. Get up and help him up, and I'm gonna make him a great nation. And when she got up, God showed her a well where she could get some water and give her boy some water. And then they say that God was with Ishmael, and he grew up, settled in the wilderness, and became an archer. Wasn't none of these back then, so you know he had to be nice with that aim. And his mama got him a wife from Egypt, which, if you ain't never seen what Egyptian women look like, go ahead and Google it, unless you married, and stay off of Google. The point is, your boy did all right, and we ain't even got to the promises that God made about him. So that's it for this week. Any links from the video is gonna be in the description down there. If you feel like you missing something, you are. That stuff gonna be an extended cut that's dropping on Wednesday. I'll see y'all then, and as always, peace, and I hope y'all people straight.